In the east side of Jamaica, nestled in the lush greenery of the countryside of St. Thomas, lived a man named Mr. Powell. Mr. Powell was a solitary figure, his small home tucked away from the hustle and bustle of the nearby town. He lived a quiet life, his only companion a sleek black cat named Midnight. Now, Midnight was no ordinary cat. He had a mischievous streak that often caused trouble in Mr. Powell's household. Every night, while Mr. Powell slept soundly in his bed, Midnight would roam the kitchen, his stealthy paws pilfering food from the cupboards. Despite Mr. Powell's efforts to thwart Midnight's thievery, the cat always managed to outsmart him. One evening, after yet another confrontation with Midnight over a stolen meal, Mr. Powell's patience wore thin. He vowed to rid himself of the troublesome cat once and for all. With determination in his heart, Mr. Powell captured Midnight and secured him in a bag. He then embarked on a late-night journey, driving far away from his home until he reached a secluded pond deep in the Jamaican wilderness. With a heavy heart and a sense of finality, Mr. Powell tossed the bag containing Midnight into the murky waters of the pond. He watched as the bag disappeared beneath the surface, his mind filled with relief at the thought of being rid of Midnight's nightly antics. But little did Mr. Powell know, his actions would have dire consequences. As the days passed, Mr. Powell found himself haunted by the memory of Midnight. Despite his efforts to move on, a sense of unease lingered in the air. And then, one fateful night, as the clock struck midnight, Mr. Powell was jolted awake by the sound of pots clanging in the kitchen. Heart pounding, Mr. Powell stumbled out of bed and made his way to the kitchen, his footsteps echoing in the stillness of the night. What he saw next chilled him to the bone. Please leave a like and subscribe. There, in the dim light of the moon, stood Midnight, his form translucent and ethereal. His eyes gleamed with an otherworldly light as he prowled the kitchen, his ghostly presence sending shivers down Mr. Powell's spine. In a panic, Mr. Powell attempted to confront Midnight, but the ghostly cat simply vanished into thin air, leaving behind an eerie silence that hung heavy in the air. From that night on, Mr. Powell's life became a living nightmare. Every midnight, the ghost of Midnight would return, haunting the halls of Mr. Powell's home with his unearthly presence. No matter how hard Mr. Powell tried to escape, the ghostly cat was always there, a constant reminder of his past actions. Desperate for reprieve, Mr. Powell sought the help of local shamans and mystics, but none could offer him solace from Midnight's haunting gaze. It seemed that he was doomed to spend the rest of his days tormented by the ghost of his former companion. As the years passed, Mr. Powell's once vibrant spirit began to wither under the weight of Midnight's relentless haunting. His home, once a sanctuary, became a prison from which there was no escape. And so, dear listener, let Mr. Powell's tale serve as a cautionary reminder: beware the consequences of your actions, for they may come back to haunt you in ways you could never imagine. Please leave a like and subscribe.